Hello and welcome to Beyond Markets, where we bring you up to speed on development outcomes in Africa. I'm Kenneth Igboma, and thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Coming up on today's episode of Beyond Markets, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area will come into effect next year. We'll discuss how Nigeria and the United Kingdom can strengthen their trade relations in a post-COVID-19 and post-Brexit world. You can join the conversation and let us know what you think. The hashtag to use is Beyond Markets. You can also hit me up on my handle. That's at Kenneth Igboma, and the interview will be uploaded on YouTube, and you can share your comments there as well. But now the lowering of the Union Jack in 1960 and the hoisting of the green, white, green flag at the racecourse in Obalende, Lagos, signaled Nigeria's independence from Britain. 60 years after, Nigeria marks its diamond jubilee of the event. Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, Emma Wade-Smith, joins me now as we explore ways to strengthen this long-running relationship between Nigeria and the United Kingdom in a post-Brexit and post-COVID-19 world. Thank you so much for your time on the show today, Emma. And let's start with looking at Nigeria in 60 and take reflections back and what it means for Nigeria-British relations.
Well, look, I think what we're seeing is an ever-increasing diversification and intensification of the relationship between Nigeria and the UK. And never has that been seen more than around this 60th anniversary. I think it's a terrific moment for Nigeria. And I think the fact that we have such strong and enduring relationship between Nigeria and the UK really speaks to our ability to get along together, to have people from each other's countries living amongst ourselves, getting educated, doing business together, and I think it's a fabulous moment for Nigeria.
All right, but we've seen the COVID-19 pandemic come to wreak the havoc we've seen across the world right now. And doing trade in a time like this could be tricky. We saw the impact on Nigeria's development trajectory, where the second quarter GDP figures signaled that Nigeria would most likely be in a recession when we come into the third quarter of this year. But I'd like you to look at that development trajectory of Nigeria and COVID-19 and how we can build better resilience, especially with trade.
Well, look, I think the trade and investment relationship between Nigeria and the UK has gone from strength to strength. Obviously, so many of us are experiencing a very, very difficult year, and businesses all around the world, including in the UK and in Nigeria, are suffering. This is a very difficult moment, and the longer the lockdown restrictions go on, not just within our own national boundaries, but across boundaries, across regions, across continents. Actually, the harder it can become for companies to sustain the momentum, to sustain the investment. What I'm very proud of, as we see our countries battling and see our businesses really struggling to stay afloat and to keep mobilizing, is actually that we are working really well together. We have strong Nigerian presence in the UK, and we have over £5 billion worth of UK investment in Nigeria. Throughout these very difficult 7 months or so, we have seen a very strong and enduring commitment from UK investors in Nigeria across a range of different sectors, and not just really demonstrating their long-term commitment to the country, but responding to COVID-19, transforming some of their operations and processes to really be part of that direct response to this pandemic. And we're seeing that similar sort of thing around the trade relationship as well, where we've got somewhere in the region of £4.8 billion worth of trade going between our countries, relatively balanced actually in terms of exports and imports. And we have seen that endure through these toughest of times. And I think that really speaks to the long-term partnership that I feel that we have between Nigeria and the UK, especially in this commercial field. And one of the things that I've been particularly impressed with actually is our engagement at a government-to-government level to really support the business engagement, to bring in more conversations, more discussions between the public sector and the private sector than we have ever seen before across this UK-Nigerian relationship, and driven by the Minister, who has been incredibly supportive and engaged in this really crucial agenda.
All right, but looking at the global stage, though, when you look at how we've seen trade tensions, make the news headlines in the past couple of years, and you're looking at the WTO leadership coming on board, we've seen the race heat up right now. 5 candidates in place is going to be whittled down to 2 come tomorrow, and we know that 2 African champions are in that race, trying to, in the likes of 2 women from Africa, trying to get into that position. We also understand that the UK's Liam Fox is also in that race. When you look at the dynamics in there, I'd like you to speak on how we can make the WTO work better for Africa.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. We have 2 fabulous African candidates who also happen to be female. We also have a very strong UK candidate in the form of Dr. Liam Fox. And he has been a very strong advocate for Africa throughout his career as a politician. Prior to that, as a medical doctor, he has a very strong vision for the WTO, recognises just how critical it is to make sure that we are tackling protectionist tendencies that we're seeing all across the world, not just inspired by COVID-19, and really making sure that we create trade policy that is modern, that is dynamic, that responds to the way that our economies are changing, that is more inclusive. And one of the things that he has said is about promoting having more women in his senior team if he were to be successful in his bid to be Director General of the WTO. But I think more broadly what we're seeing is real challenges to this multilateralism being seen very, very clearly in this trade space. We're seeing more governments around the world, including in the OECD, bringing in protectionist measures over the last 10 years or so than we have seen previously. And none of that is good for any of our businesses and our economies. We can see through the research, through the evidence, that the more open, the freer trade that we have between our countries, the more that inspires and supports and enables greater flows of trade and investment. And that is what we need to help continue the process we've seen over recent years of really driving prosperity through supporting greater trade and investment, greater commercial activity between our countries. So the WTO is absolutely essential to provide those global framings and the rules and the regulations by which we must all comply, and as a route to really inspiring a greater opening up of global trade. And at no time has it been more important than now, when we are seeing global trade being very directly affected by lockdown restrictions around the world, where we're seeing governments around the world take protectionist measures, short-term ones to protect themselves around the pandemic, but longer-term ones as well, and not just in the form of tariffs, but a lot of the non-tariff barriers that have crept in over the years. And the UK is very strongly a free trading nation. We believe wholeheartedly that the freer goods and services are to move across borders, the more that enables the private sector to do what it does best, which is create and sustain jobs and help all of us become more prosperous.
All right, definitely talking about improving trade ties at a time like this, we cannot but talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area and the opportunities that it presents. But I'd like you to speak to how we can see this impact at the bilateral trade between Nigeria and the United Kingdom.
Well, first of all, I mean, the African Continental Free Trade Area is such an exciting project and absolutely crucial, I think, to the future of Africa's global trading system. So not only is it important that we are building the relationships, from my perspective anyway, between Nigeria and the UK, but this is about how do we enable the African continent to increase the amount of flow of trade and services between its own countries. And that is a key driver of growth and job creation and prosperity. So from the UK perspective, this Continental Free Trade Area is a really critical project. We thoroughly support it. We've been providing some technical assistance to enable these conversations and the negotiations to proceed. And of course, we've seen it disrupted by the impact and the response to COVID-19, but very keen to see that continue and to build pace over the months ahead. In terms of the UK-Nigeria relationship, I think that anything that encourages a harmonisation of regulations and reduces tariffs is a really positive step forward. And what I hear from UK companies all the time is their excitement and interest in Nigeria because of the size of the Nigerian market, if you like, bigger population, bustling, exciting economy, so much innovation happening in Nigeria. And that is very attractive to investors and exporters looking for a decent market size to get their teeth stuck into, and joint partners to enter into business with. And so as we see across Africa, it's easier to move goods and services. We will see that excitement from UK companies and investors rise ever more. And as I say, I think the harmonisation of regulations, the consistency of laws, all really helps companies to build the confidence that they need to make those long-term commitments, either from the UK into Nigeria or indeed from Nigeria into the UK.
All right, Emma, I needed to hold that thought for a second. I will take a quick break, and definitely when we return, we're going to continue our conversation. And I'm going to speak to you about the Commonwealth advantage. And since we're talking about trade and we're looking at market size here, I will talk about that impact we could expect from that going forward. After the break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond Markets. If you're just watching the show, my guest today is Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, Emma Wade-Smith, and we've been talking about how to take the trade relations between Nigeria and the United Kingdom to the next level. Just before we left off, Emma was just talking about the opportunities we could see there in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and then I'm now taking this conversation to an already existing, relationship that we already have, which is the Commonwealth. And I'd like you to speak on what we can look at for African countries that are part of the Commonwealth and what advantage they can get out of that when you look at trade.
Absolutely. Look, I think this is an extraordinary family. You look at the breadth and the depth of the relationships that exist within Commonwealth members and between Commonwealth members. In Africa alone, we have 19 Commonwealth countries. It's an extraordinary, vibrant, deep-rooted relationship here. And one of the things that I have seen over the last few years is actually the renewed focus and energy around trade and investment between Commonwealth members. And you can see the research shows that actually, there is greater trade and greater value generated through that trade intra-Commonwealth, as opposed to between a Commonwealth country and one that isn't a member. So it holds an innate value to be part of this extraordinary family of the Commonwealth. When I was at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London 2 years ago, really saw this drive from the UK government to bring greater harmonisation, to bring greater energy and dynamism and indeed investment into this trade and investment space, to see how can we build more sustainable economies, how do we create more inclusive economies so that we are able to benefit from the talent and the expertise and the skills of all of our people and not just a small fraction of them. We saw initiatives like She Trades, for example, coming out of that London summit of the Commonwealth, which really it's about investing in women and supply chains and helping more women take a deeper, stronger position within their respective economies. And actually what I'm very encouraged by is that as we're engaging with Rwanda, that will host the next Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting now next year, as opposed to just a couple of months ago, we are very much aligned in driving this strong trade and prosperity agenda to really understand, how do we help this vast array of countries all benefit, all become more prosperous by supporting and working with one another. So I think it is a really exciting, as I say, a membership family. And I think that we're seeing the benefits of that accrue every year.
Definitely quite a lot to look forward to at the next Commonwealth Head of Government meeting, which is going to happen in Africa, in Kigali next year. But let's move on. And when we look at how we could increase that value and volume of trade between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, still quite a lot to do. A lot of work has been done already, but it's still not perfect. But I would like you to speak to how we could, help to bring down some of the trade barriers that we're still currently seeing.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial. As I was saying earlier, the more open we can make our economies, the easier we see that flow of trade and investment between us. And I do see this very much as a mutual partnership. We've got goods and services going between our two countries. This is definitely not one-way traffic. And what I've seen over the last few years in my current role is this drive within Nigeria to diversify the economy. We're seeing more UK companies interested in these sort of burgeoning opportunities. So this is not just an oil and gas story in Nigeria. And I think what's really exciting is the opportunities around agriculture and how we can bring technology in to increase the productivity and the harvest yields around this important core sector for Nigeria. But also, how do we increase the relationships that we have in the business world around healthcare provision, around education, around financial and professional services, and many more areas beside consumer and retail goods and so on. So Nigeria is a very exciting proposition, I think, for the UK. And I think really helped by some of the progress that we're seeing being driven by the government of Nigeria, particularly in areas like improving the ease of doing business. And I think, the world of business is a highly competitive one. I think the easier we make it for companies to go and explore, find partners, and build these opportunities into reality, the easier we will see this trade and investment relationship flourish further. And so, I think we are seeing growth. Obviously, this year is a very tricky one, but we continue to see our UK investors fully invested in Nigeria's future, whether it is in oil and gas, or it's in renewables, or infrastructure, or agriculture, healthcare, education, and so on. And one of the things that we did last year as part of our growing relationship was we showcased Nigerian investment opportunities at an event in London. Very successful. The room was packed out, and what was really great for me to see was actually a whole bunch of new UK companies that had never operated in Nigeria before, really wanting to understand where are those opportunities, how do they get involved, and I think that has been a real catalyst for us to drive our sort of understanding of those opportunities and to connect businesses in Nigeria and the UK so that they can get on and do what they do best. So I do think there's an exciting future. Clearly, things are difficult at the moment, but we are relentless in pursuing a growing trade and investment relationship. And I see huge opportunity and great potential.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned Nigeria's future, but I'm also curious about the future of the United Kingdom, because when you look at that post-Brexit world and how it's going to play out, I'm trying to understand where Nigeria sits in the UK's strategy going forward for post-Brexit.
Well, Nigeria is one of our most important countries in the African continent. From a trade and investment perspective, it is our second largest exporting market, second largest recipient of investment from the UK into Africa. So, overall, important is the headline message. What we see as we come to the end of the transition period, as the UK has left the European Union, from the 1st of January, we start afresh at the end of that period. And I think that sort of, for me, inspires even greater effort and energy directed towards the Nigeria-UK trade and investment relationship. We have been working really hard to make sure that we have at least continuity of the trading arrangements that support and enable that trade and investment activity to go ahead. And that includes creating a new UK global tariff, which is applicable as our most favoured nation tariff. And in fact, we have worked really hard to make an improvement on the EU system that we have been part of, to demonstrate our strong commitment to not only free and open trade, but actually really working ever more closely with markets, with countries like Nigeria. So making that global tariff simpler to understand. It's around 85% of those thousands of tariff lines are tariff free. We've lowered tariffs where we haven't abolished them altogether. So really helping to enable businesses to better understand where the opportunities lie in terms of tariff free or lower tariff access to the UK market.
And my mind takes me back to earlier this year when we were at the UK Africa Investment Summit and came on board, and I understand about £16 billion worth of new deals were announced there. But I'd like to know what the next steps have been since the investment summit.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I thought it was an absolutely amazing day at the summit itself, and wrapped around it we had all sorts of fabulous events looking at specific countries across Africa and specific sectors, and so really helping to build off of that fabulous £16 billion of new deals to build an even stronger pipeline. And so we've spent the last 8-9 months really working that pipeline hard, making sure that the disruptions that COVID-19 has brought don't disrupt those investment deals that we've worked so hard to get across the line. And I'm really pleased to say that none of those investments has fallen by the wayside as a result of the pandemic. We are full steam ahead on every single one of them. And so that is really exciting. But we announced a few things at the summit itself, which have continued over the course of the year, despite the pandemic disruptions. So we announced an Africa Investors Group, which I co-chair, which is designed to really engage with some of the UK's most consistent, long-term, large investors in the African continent, to help so that we can get business insights from them, to make sure that the work that we do as the British government is focused on the right areas to really drive those investment flows that we want to see. And as part of that, we created an online deal room platform with a company called Asoko Insight. And that is essentially we're trying to simplify the process of matching African investment opportunities with potential UK investors. And so as an African business person, you can upload your investment opportunity onto this deal room platform, all online, which is perfect for the days that we're now sort of communicating virtually. And then we're seeing UK investors really looking through those opportunities which are being due diligenced, enabling those conversations to start and progress. Even if we're not able to physically sort of be in the same room together, we're able to progress those investment deals. And what we've seen over the last 8 months is over £500 million worth of deals coming through that are actively being discussed between investor and investee. And that's just the start, really, of how do we really promote a greater flow of investment from the UK. And of course, let's be honest, these are really difficult times to be attracting investment, and we're seeing investment flows globally plummet. So the fact that we've been able to maintain our investment deals, the fact that we're seeing this continued excitement and interest from the UK investment community is really heartening for me. And around 10% of those deals on that platform are from Nigeria. So if anyone here watching is a Nigerian entrepreneur, business owner, and you are looking for investment to scale your business, to grow your business, please do check out that online deal room platform, and we'd be delighted to see more deals coming through there.
All right, definitely quite a lot there, but I'd like you to speak on this because it's also one point that I'd like you to get on here, because there's been quite a lot of competition when you talk about, in Africa. Yes, the UK had the summit in January. We've also seen quite a number of engagements with the continent since then. We've seen China also play a role. Russia is also trying to do something in Africa, and the US also doing quite a lot there. But how does the UK, plan to deal with this competition for Africa?
Well, I think it's fabulous for Africa, actually, that there are companies and governments from all around the world looking at the exciting opportunities that we see here on the continent. So this, as the UK has sort of reinvigorated its trade and investment work in Africa over the last few years, we are certainly not the only ones to have spotted that this is a land of exciting opportunities. So it's absolutely right that there's competition. There's competition everywhere around the world, and UK companies are definitely not scared of it. We think that we've got a tremendous offer across a wide range of sectors, deep expertise. Plus, we work really well in joint ventures and local partnerships. But in terms of, I suppose what people often describe as a direct competition, whether it's China or it's Japan or Turkey, India, the US, I think certainly when we look at what China has to offer and what China is bringing to the African continent, I think I don't necessarily see the UK as direct competitors with Chinese companies. And as part of an illustration of that, we're trying to build partnerships between UK and Chinese companies, particularly in the infrastructure space around China's Belt and Road Initiative, for example, to identify where China brings its expertise, where the UK brings our capabilities, and how they complement one another. And we can actually then build world-class, top of the range infrastructure projects. And that for me is what is at the heart of all of this. How do we make sure that all the business that is being done is top quality, world-class, sustainable, inclusive. And certainly as we've looked through, living through COVID-19, it has caused us to reassess our efforts. And we're seeing an increasing focus around two key themes. One is around technology, and the other is around green growth. And for me, I think those two things complement each other, but also I think are key drivers for what the UK brings to the African continent across a vast array of our business opportunities. And we're really keen to work with, frankly, any international businesses that share our values and share our approach to doing business.
All right, then thanks a lot for your time on the show, Emma. Definitely, I'm afraid that's all the time that we have on the show. It's definitely a conversation that I would like to take further because there's still a lot of angles to still explore. But unfortunately, time is not our friend right now. Thank you so much. I've been speaking to Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, Emma Wade-Smith. And that's it on Beyond Markets for today. And thank you so much for being a part of the show. From me and the team, enjoy the rest of your day.